So how do we want to start?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hello.
Hi. Wait, start over. Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
We're so bad at this. Anyway, we just bought an RV, and I was originally looking for any kind of video on YouTube to explain the process. Not so much how to pick an RV, but I thought you turned it off.
Really?
Yeah, because it wasn't on.
I thought you turned it off.
Delete the video.
No, this is a good video. But I'm perfect
I'll
here.
turn it off.
Okay, yeah.
You want me to pause it?
In a minute.
Anyway.
Take 5.
Yeah. I don't know what I was saying. I know what I was saying. I don't know where I was. Looking on YouTube for some kind of video that explained the process of purchasing an RV. Not specifically how to find an RV or where to go, but actually what happens when I walk through the doors of a dealership. Because it's intimidating. And we just did it kind of hoping for the best, and we've gone through it, so we thought we'd send some tips out to you guys so you can understand what you're getting into.
Yeah, but remember, it is very specific to us and
this dealership.
Oh yeah, the dealership and everybody's experience will be a little bit different. But
we purchased through Lazy Days, specifically in Tampa, but Lazy Days is a massive network of dealerships in the United States. So I would think they'd be fairly similar anywhere you'd go.
Yeah. But regardless, we have some good tips, I think. So keep watching if you're interested.
The first half of the video will be mostly tips about how to get it going. And the second half will be specifically what exactly we did. Now, we also finance, so keep in mind if you're a cash purchaser, I mean, it may be good to watch just to get some tips and tricks and understand the games they may try to play, but you're going to hand them cash and you're going to walk out with your RV.
It'll be much easier.
Yeah. So at that point, it's up to you how long you want to spend dealing with it, because they'll take your money in a heartbeat.
Yes. So we do have some notes, so we'll be referring to those probably.
I'll probably cut that in and
out. Oh. Look at that. So we'll start with getting things in order, your life and your finances and all that fun stuff.
Basically everything you need to think about prior to getting into the process, because it is a process, and we were lucky enough to start thinking about it months ahead of when we needed this RV, so we had time to get prepared. So starting with financing, it's similar to buying anything else, but not the same. So RV financing, like maybe boats, if you've dealt with those before, they're recreational vehicles. So banks look at it as a luxury, not a necessity. Not like a car where people need cars to go to work. So they're a little stingier on giving out the money for them.
Very stingy. Also,
the loan length is much longer than a car in most cases. You can go up to 15 years is the longest I've seen. Maybe longer for those $1 million buses, but 15 years. But as low as whatever you want, 5 years. But a lot of the dealers will try to put their estimated price or monthly payment based on a 15-year loan.
I feel like 12 to 15 years.
So it'll show a really low number. Obviously, that financing is decided, like if you can get 15 years is decided by your credit as well as how much they'll finance you for. So also understanding interest rates. At this time, it looks like 6 to 7% is about the average. You can get lower, and I'm assuming you can get higher. But it's one of those things where, because it's a luxury loan, if you get approved, you're pretty much going to get a rate around that. Like, your credit has to be to the extent that that would be the going rate anyway. Yeah. So if you're going to get approved, your rate's going to be around 6% or less.
Yeah. I think that budget is really important. You should decide how much you want to spend and how much your monthly payment will be based on what kind of interest rate you think you'll get.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get too anxious and just go to a dealer and say, I want my payment to be $400 a month, make it happen. Math is math. So online calculators are great. You can just type in auto financing calculator. It's the same idea. There's nothing different. You put in X amount of dollars for how much you bought it for, how much you think your interest rate's going to be, and you'll know what your payment's going to be. And you can decide down payment. I will say the financing, they basically made it sound like we didn't have a choice. The banks would not even look at us without 10% down.
Yeah, that's.
And
seemed like it was pretty.
It was pretty adamant. Like I get the feeling that the process is difficult. Like they're not going to reapply you to banks with different levels of down payment. Like if you say 5, it's an application. If you say 8, it's another application. So they don't want to go through that a bunch of times. They want to know what the max you're going to give is, and then they'll shop you to banks from there.
Yeah. We specifically kind of had a budget in mind for what we wanted to spend per month on a truck and an RV. So
yeah, we were at $1,000. We hadn't had a new vehicle in years, ever. I've had no AC for a long time, so we decided to try to split it down the middle. But if one was heavier one way or the other, which when you start looking at RV loans, especially in our case a travel trailer, a really expensive one is like $50,000. A nice travel trailer, $60,000. Over 15 years at 6% interest, you're looking at less than $500 a month. So it was definitely feasible. Car payments are where they hurt you.
Yeah, truck payments.
Truck payments specifically. The truck that can pull that $40,000 RV is much more expensive in the short term. Also with financing to keep in mind, maybe it's messing with the system a little bit, but we were given the tip and we went with it, and so far it's worked, unless we're going to get a call from the bank tomorrow. But
no.
Buy the RV first. If you're going to finance both, the RV is a luxury, the vehicle is considered more of a necessity, so it's easier to get financed for a truck or a car than it is for an RV. So you get your financing with the RV. We tried to do them both very short together in hopes that neither one would show up on the credit reports prior to purchasing, which so far it doesn't look like they've either has shown up on our credit reports, and we've purchased both.
Yeah.
I promise we can afford, if the banks are watching, we can pay for it. But I'm sure if you were to have a month or two in between buying one or the other, it's going to affect your credit when you go to purchase the next one.
And also the inquiries, like on your report, within 14 days are like considered one.
Yeah, it's something like that. 14 or 30 days, they group them together. So it initially looks like it's hurting your credit a lot to get all these pulls, but in 6 months from now, it's going to look like one.
Yeah.
And they do pull your credit like crazy because, I mean, we must have gotten 8 hits per application with the dealership, because the dealership sends your info out to all these banks, and then the banks inquire individually from there. So.
Yeah. So speaking of credit, the RV credit scores.
Yeah, that's the financing. I keep calling her financing lady. It was Christine, or I guess what would it be? Finance manager.
Yeah,
that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Our finance manager, Christine. She basically explained to us. We went in like everybody else using Credit Karma, or I think Capital One does credit monitoring. We had a good idea what our scores were, and we were pretty excited because we had worked towards it, knowing that this was our end game to buy these items. And she came back with numbers that were
like 80 points lower than what we
80 points,
like a lot.
Yeah. Specifically in Kaylee's case, it was that big of a difference. And she specifically mentioned that it had to do with the kind of credit you have for purchasing an RV.
Well, she said that your RV credit score is always lower than what you think.
And I think it goes back to the whole luxury item.
Yeah.
And apparently the way she mentioned it to us is the banks are not going to loan you any more than the largest loan you've ever had to purchase a luxury item. So if you bought a $16,000 car, they're not probably going to approve you 40 grand for an RV.
No.
I'm lucky I purchased a house, so I assume that's what made it work out for us.
Yeah.
But who knows? And I mean, we had both of our incomes listed and everything like that, so being together definitely helped.
Yeah, but I just think it's important to keep in mind that
that could be a big. You can have the best credit in the world. Like I said, Kaylee's credit is great. It just it wasn't enough because she hasn't had a huge loan in her history.
Yeah.
So that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure a big down payment can change anything, though. So.
Well, no, she said that there was people. Well, yeah. She mentioned that there were people that had like perfect credit scores and they couldn't get approved right now because they just don't have the history.
Yeah.
So pre-approval versus pre-qualified. Did you know there's a difference?
We found that out actually after the RV purchase. We shopped around and applied for credit for the RV prior to, so we knew what kind of rates we would get. But what I was not aware of is that pre-approved and pre-qualified are two very different things, and it's very hard to find pre-approval, true pre-approval. Like, you can get pre-approved in a way that they have decided they will loan you money, but they want to know the specific vehicle. Like, you're basically applying for the loan for a vehicle. Some want to know the VIN number. So if you don't know that stuff yet, we just wanted to know how much money we could get for something that was new.
Yeah.
Because we knew that's what we wanted, and go from there. What interest rate? So we were able to get pre-approved for the truck just outright the way we wanted. They basically said, if you buy a vehicle between this year and this year, we'll give you this much money, and this is what your interest rate will be. And that was great. It gave us something to deal with the truck to go to the dealership.
Yeah.
But you should try to look into that because you never know. You might find a much better rate than the dealership can give you.
Yeah. And then the last thing for getting things in order, when you think about your budget, think about the small things because they tend to add up.
Yeah. Insurance. We thought about insurance, but I don't know the extent that we really put it together. It got really scary actually because it added up real quick at our initial quotes. We're lucky, at least for us, I would assume for a lot of people, RV insurance is fairly affordable.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with the fact that they don't expect you to be using it all the time. It's more of for a lot of people, it's probably once every 6 months. But
yeah.
That's actually something we didn't put in our notes, but a lot of people advise against bringing up if you're going to be living in it full time. It seems like financing, they don't want to deal with that. Insurance doesn't want to deal with that. Honestly, I don't know how they would know one way or the other if you were, but everybody says don't bring up full time. Progressive, I did notice, which is who we ended up with, does have a full-time option, and they have different options in that you can get covered for more loss because it's more of a loss when it's your home. But
yeah. So think about insurance for your RV, insurance for your truck. If you're getting a new truck, it might be more than what your crappy car insurance was, and where you're located and everything like that. And then storage, where you're going to keep your RV if you're going to have to pay a lot to store it, or if you
what I found with that, first with the insurance bundling helped a lot, and I know it seems like common sense, but I didn't realize I had had the same insurance on my vehicle for 10 years, which 10 years ago I was 20. So insurance was a little different for me at that age bracket, and it's never gone down, or not much. And I never reshopped. And I went and did this on a brand new truck, and it was like a quarter of the price it was on.
Yeah, and credit could matter and stuff like that. So
definitely, and with the storage, I also have realized that in more densely populated areas, it seems like that storage rate goes a lot higher. So it's hard to find RV storage to begin with, at least where we are. Like, we're looking at basic like personal mini storage places that have some extra space, not dedicated RV or boat storage, which would be nice, but they tend to be a little pricier because they cater
a lot pricier.
Yeah. There's some nice options. They're covered and they have dump stations in some of them.
Yeah.
They have security. They'll pull it out for you so you don't have to finagle it into tight places. But I found that when we went a little off the beaten path, a little outside of town, prices got a little more reasonable.
Yes. I got a little bit of heartburn, a little bit. Okay. So next, we'll talk about finding the right RV for you.
So, lots of research. Obviously, if you're looking at a YouTube video about buying an RV, you're on the right path. We became obsessed with the idea of RVs from YouTube, watching people that live in them full time. It's great. So it helped a lot. But you have to do a lot of research to decide what you think you'll want. And really, you need to get into them. It's not fun going to dealerships, especially if they tend to be pushier, which they do. But certain ones, like Lazy Days here in Tampa, if you make it clear when you walk in, there's like a receptionist that you would really prefer to just browse without a salesman, they let you go. They don't ask for anything of you. They just point you in the right direction and go. But this is a massive superstore. Any normal place, smaller place, I'm sure they're...
Yeah, like we went to Camping World to look at a specific model, and they got...
Here's your salesman. He's going to drive you around, and...
It was very, like...
Not fun. We knew we weren't going to buy one from him, so it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah. We really just wanted to look at a certain model, and they had it, so... but, yeah, it was very awkward. Lazy Days is, like, amazing.
Yeah, it is.
An RV show is like the perfect scenario. I feel like we didn't get a chance to go to one, especially because of COVID.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good way to see a lot of RVs.
Yeah. And YouTube videos, I know I mentioned that's what got us into it, but there's so many YouTube videos of tours of RVs.
Oh, yeah.
And just because, you got to keep in mind, if there's a model you're interested in, just because you can't find that model, you can see floor plans or similar options from the brand in the same year. They tend to carry over. So, for instance, we purchased a Winnebago Voyage, and the model, the floor plan we wanted, had never been made. But Voyage had been made for 1 year prior to that. So there were other floor plans, and there were the standard options that were going to be available in ours. So we saw them in person, and we saw them online. We saw YouTube videos from Winnebago explaining their new Voyage line. So you got to see the standard things. And at least with this model, I don't know about others, they're all the same, like, frame base. So there's so many things that are the same on them that you can get a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's important to get in it, though, and feel, like, the build quality of it, and if it's, like, cheap and falling apart, or if you feel like it's good. Yeah,
find those YouTubers that you trust a lot, too. We got our one or two that when they say something, I feel like I can be sure that it's good or bad. They're not paid by somebody to say something.
Yeah.
So, also, there is the fact that an RV may not be built yet that you're interested in, or you don't realize that could be happening. Kaylee, because she is the consummate researcher, found that Winnebago made this line called Voyage, and they had a floor plan that was exactly what we were looking for. And we knew that was what we were looking for because we got out and tried other brands that had similar floor plans. But they were always missing something. So we went into a Winnebago Voyage, I think it was the 24, 27 RB. And it had this slide that we're sitting in right now, full of windows, absolutely beautiful. But it was short, kind of compact, and there were some other issues. Then we went in a Grand Design that had a very similar floor plan, and the refrigerator was blocking part of the slide where the windows were in the Winnebago, and we realized that was important to us. This bright light coming in mattered. So she went on and found that Winnebago Voyage had another model, a little bit bigger, that has those same windows, and cleared up all the issues we had. It looked like a perfect floor plan. but they'd never made one. It
was like a new model
for the year.
Produced.
And this is in the middle of the pandemic, and we had no idea when they got built or when we'd be able to see one. So I don't know if you can hear that AC, but an AC just kicked on. So half the battle for us was trying to even find somebody that could answer the question when this RV was going to show up for us to see. And I ended up getting quotes from multiple dealers for this RV that hadn't been built yet on the options and things like that. So just understand that you can do the research and not even be able to see the RV that you really want in the long run. There's a bunch out there. If you're going to buy a 2020 new sitting on a lot, in 2 months a 2021 could be coming out. If you have time to wait, you might as well get the brand spanking new one for the same price.
Yeah. All right, so now that you've found the RV for you,
you want to compare prices, obviously. You want to get the best price you can. In our case, because we were buying an RV that hadn't even been made yet, or we were interested in it at least, all we could do was reach out to dealers to get quotes for the RV before it even got made. So we got the opportunity to hand pick the parts and pieces we wanted. They gave us quotes, and it was kind of difficult because you literally had to call each place in order to get an idea what the thing was going to cost. Because as most people know, when you're buying an RV, the MSRP is nowhere near what the actual price of it is. It's much more expensive.
Yeah.
Or in actuality, you're paying much less for it. So they all had the same roundabout MSRPs, and the quotes varied crazily.
I mean, it does matter slightly, like what options you have inside.
Yeah.
But they were all around the same price.
Yes, the option prices were pretty much the same because that builds up to the MSRP, and then it's just up to the dealer how much they want to take off the price.
Okay.
So I got a quote to build this RV from Lazy Days.
From Winnebago, right? No, I'm sorry.
From Lazy Days. I don't even remember what the quote was now, but it was a good price. It was what we were willing to pay for it, what we thought it was worth.
Well, we had contacted Winnebago. They said that the model was going to be made between this date and this date, and that Lazy Days was on the first, like one of the first
dealers
to receive it. So we knew that Lazy Days would be getting the RV in on this date, so we were kind of waiting for it to come in for them to give us the price.
Yeah, so we had a quote already, but we wanted to see what the one on site would be like, what the price would be. We wanted to feel it.
Well, I wanted to buy it right then and there. I didn't even need to see it, but Doug, being the good person he is, he wanted to be in it first and see it just to make sure it was 100% what we wanted.
And
which is smart.
What I really wanted was to get all these dealerships flooded with the one we wanted so they could fight with pricing. I wanted to see 10 dealerships with different prices online so I could go in and say, hey, this guy's got it $10,000 cheaper. That's what I really wanted.
Yeah.
But, so with that build quote that I got, once we got to the dealership and got to see the first model that showed up, it happened to be almost exactly the build we wanted. It had these two seats, the dinette next to us, a few other things that were specialty that we wanted on it. So we were ecstatic.
Yeah.
So when we actually went through the process to decide to purchase that unit, the price was very different from what we had been quoted online to have one custom built the way we wanted it. So that came into the negotiation. So keep that in mind. It may be worth getting the quote first, at least as some sort of leverage.
Yeah, I agree.
So another thing to consider is the benefits from purchasing from a specific dealer. In this case, we purchased from Lazy Days, who I mentioned earlier is massive company nationwide. They have some great benefits such as 1,000 Trails membership for a year, discounts in their store for accessories, and I think they have a deal with KOA that involves a discount with them.
Yeah.
Camping World, we know because we did go there to look at a couple of RVs. They mentioned to us that they had some similar deals. I think
Good Sam.
Yeah, I think they deal a lot with Good Sam, so you get some kind of membership with them, as well as did they have free camping too?
I don't know for sure, but they had some good stuff too.
They all, especially these major dealerships, they have national deals with other companies. So keep in mind what's going to be important to you, and I don't think it should decide what you get, but it could decide the dealership you go to. I would think a smaller mom and pop dealership probably can't give you those benefits, but they may be able to give you great service. That's another thing to keep in mind, not just the benefits as freebies, but the service side of it. Lazy Days has quite a few dealerships. I don't know how many, maybe 15 or something. They're all in warm climates, if I remember right. So if we ever go to Arizona or something, we can get the service from a Lazy Days because you can use them anyway, but I think you get better benefits of service. You don't have to wait because you purchase through them. And I knew that was something Camping World did also. They had dedicated service for past purchasers at all Camping Worlds. I don't think you have to wait, or there's benefits to all of it. But
so just check them out.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind. And the customer service that you would get from one to the other. That was another benefit we got from Lazy Days is a hotline. If there's any issues, it's something you can't figure out, you don't know how to turn on the water heater, who knows what, you can call this hotline and someone will walk you through it.
And I think did we get roadside assistance through Lazy Days for a year?
Yeah, we got roadside assistance with Lazy Days, which our insurance had it, but
hey, you never know.
Yeah, you got a lot of freebies. It's just weigh it all out. Consider all the options. All right, everyone, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you saw at the beginning where we said we were going to split this into 2 different videos. So the tips and tricks were at the beginning, this first video, and then the next video is going to be our actual experience from the moment we walked in the doors of the dealership the day we decided to purchase our RV. So expect that next week. Watch out for it, and hopefully you like it. Thanks a lot.